Have you ever wanted to take a day trip to a small Pennsylvania town or hike through the beautiful Appalachian Mountains, but don't want to deal with the traffic, high gas prices, and windy mountain roads? The Center County Highway Revolt is a citizen-led initiative trying to save farms and forests, combat climate change, and boost small-town economies by building a rail transit network across the state. The plan calls for connections to existing Amtrak trains. Learn more at centercountyhighwayrevolt.org. A year ago, this week, the University of the Arts in Center City announced it was suddenly closing its doors forever due to financial problems. The decision shocked its students, faculty, and really the city at large. But there was one bright spot. The UArts dance program was saved by a tiny college in Vermont. We are revisiting our story, which we aired a few months ago, about how Philly's UArts dance ended up in the mountains of New England. And we're told the dance program is now expected to return to Philadelphia from Vermont in the 2026-2027 academic year. It's Tuesday, May 27th. I'm Trenae Nuri, and here's why Philly's still dancing. Laura, you're the president of Bennington, which for our listeners who don't know is a small college in beautiful Vermont. You have fewer than 1,000 students, and yet you have a renowned dance program. What's the background of dance at Bennington?
Well, Bennington was founded in 1932, and one of its incredible contributions to society is that it was the very first liberal arts school to put the arts in the curriculum. Just think about that. And dance from the very beginning was a centerpiece of the arts program here at Bennington. Martha Graham was here. Martha Hill was here. It was a kind of place that really was burgeoning with creativity and really kind of defined the future of American dance. And one of the things we loved about looking at the University of the Arts program is that we share a heritage. A heritage of of dance as a really important central art form here in the United States that is a living, breathing art form that that students love to study, and that at Bennington the future of dance was created.
So, Laura, when the University of Arts in Center City suddenly closed last year, it was shocking for a lot of us. How did you hear about that and try to figure out if there was anything Bennington could do?
Yeah. So, it's interesting. I was coming away from our commencement, and I got texts from several different faculty saying, did you hear about the University of the Arts? We have to do something. And Donna Faye and I had met before, and she reached out to me, and by Monday, we were talking on the phone. And I just thought, this is tragic for Philadelphia, for the students, for dance in America, that this incredible program could disappear and these students would be left with nothing. And it turned out that, and as Donna Faye and I talked on that Monday, there was a master's program that they were starting in 2 weeks from, in France. And I just said, okay, we got to do this. And we were able to get some funders and others to kind of join in this effort to revive this program, to keep it alive. We were able to bring the masters to France. And it was like, some of the bills had been paid, some of the bills had not been paid, some of the students had paid tuition, some of the students had not paid tuition. It was crazy. And, here was this woman, Donna Faye, who was like she is a force of nature. And, she just needed to continue this. And I wanted to do everything we could. And I knew it would fit so beautifully with Bennington.
Now, this was an unusual arrangement, to say the least. Donna Faye, you were the dean of the School of Dance at UArts. Tell me about, some of the feelings and emotions that you and the students and the other faculty were going through at that time when you found out the school was closing?
Wow. I replay that question in my mind over and over again. And also I replay that emotion because it was something that was so unpredictable and something that was so felt. It seemed impossible, and how you kind of make room in your consciousness for something that is absolutely impossible to imagine. And also something I think that we all know, that when you're in education and when you're in study, and when you're in college, the whole idea is about momentum, how you're moving forward with your life, how you're moving students forward with their lives. And also in dance, it is about movement. So suddenly,
Literally, yeah.
yeah. So suddenly this feeling that you're, stalled or stopped, it just felt impossible. And the same is true for I would say in most programs that are deeply invested in their students, there's something about that motion, that movement that comes from the desires and dreams of all those students that are just essential to the sort of tenets of a good education. So, I would say it was unfathomable. There's this expression that the dance would not be denied, or the dancing would not be denied. So it felt like it just was not, we were not going to let it take us down.
Donna Faye, you described this situation as unfathomable, that the school had closed. Was it also unfathomable when Laura called you up and said, "How can I help?"
If you could imagine it like a scene or a feeling or a sensation, it was really like, being lost in the middle, being lost at sea, right? And you've lost the wind of your sail, you've lost the direction you're going, but suddenly, and it was almost instant. There was this sort of sensation that there could be a way out, a way forward. And it started like a stir, because we were just trying to figure out how. So it started like a stir. And there's something about that relational thinking, thinking with someone else and thinking with others, where it can break open a possibility. And that's what began to happen.
More on this story after the break.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
How does PwC take your company to the leading edge? They bring the sharpest minds in tech to your team, so you can bring the ideas that will transform your business. They're passionate about your industry, so you can walk into any room with every advantage. And they're with you every step of the way, so you can know you're headed in the right direction. PwC builds for what's next, so you can get there now. Get started at pwc.com/us/leading edge.
What did taking over the program actually involve? How did Bennington absorb the program? It must have been a significant financial investment too, right?
Yes, it was. So we were, first of all, we couldn't have done this without the incredible generosity of several funders that stepped up. And we were able to raise money from individual Samuel Scripps, as well as from the Ford Foundation, a transformational fund, and from the Nathan Clark Foundation. And so between them, we raised about $1.3 million because we had an urgency, and we were able to kind of put together a plan that showed how much that we needed the money for transition. Because as I said, some of the bills had been paid, some of the bills had not been paid. And then we needed to, bring the faculty for the BFA program. So it was an all-out team effort internally, from the registrar to the provost to the dance faculty, who spent a fair amount of time with Donna Faye and her faculty, and they were incredible. But we're small, and we're nimble, and we're independent, and many people in higher education, some of my colleagues and peers at other presidents of other universities are like, how did you do that? This just doesn't happen fast in higher education. But it's because Bennington we're about creativity and directing. Our students all direct their own course of study. So we're used to that, kind of sense of creativity, self-determination, and, you set out what you want to do and you do it.
How many students and faculty moved to Vermont this year to continue the program? I mean, Vermont and Philly, two different types of areas.
We were stretched across those geographies, but we had about 13 faculty artists come to Bennington in the fall term to teach the students. And if you can imagine it with a kind of visiting artist feeling at the same time, these were faculty that the students all knew and had studied with before. So it had a sense of continuity, a sense of reunion, a sense of repair, but also a kind of sense of I don't know, like, what does it look like when we land somewhere else? We know what we know, but we're in a new place. And how can we activate those things we care about and stay and study and keep moving? So I can say that there were 13 faculty and 35 undergraduate students. And that was extraordinary. We also had 20 low residency MFA students who came from the summer term into the fall term also. And in December, we were able to graduate 11 MFA students. And this year, we will graduate 11 BFA students that were sort of left without a way through. And, something that a lot of the parents have been saying is just how it created a way through. You can imagine being a senior or finishing graduate school and suddenly feeling like the door shuts in front of you as you're just getting there. And I will say that what Bennington also afforded them was a way to still do it on their own terms. We were able to preserve the integrity of the curriculum and the integrity of their thesis ideas and the integrity of their, the work with the faculty they had worked with in the past. That was just a miracle.
Donna Faye, can you describe what this program looks like? What are the students studying? What are some of the techniques they're learning? Performances, things like that?
So the students in this program study across really like 4 areas. One of them, of course, being studio practice, and what we call body pathways, meaning they study very intensely the practice of dancing in a studio. And, if you're a musician, you spend hours practicing. If you're a painter, you spend hours painting. And if you're a dancer, you spend hours quite literally in the studio dancing. So a big part of this program, they spend hours and hours in the studio training, or what we would call practice. The other part of our program, and it's kind of fun to say, is called Thinking, Making, Doing area, which is where it's imaginative classwork, where they're thinking about their ideas, they're making different versions of their ideas, and they're also doing it. They're trying it out for each other, they're talking about it, they're learning from one another in that creative act. And the third part, which is equal, in fact, to the practice part, is called critical dance processes, which quite literally means that they're speaking about it, they're expressing themselves verbally and in writing about what they're seeing, how they're learning. And I want to really emphasize that in the 30s, when dance was forming here at Bennington, one of those important things that it allowed was for dance to the idea in the world was that dance was rubbing elbows with other intellectual ideas, and that Bennington created a location where that could happen. So imagine that we landed here, and a big part of our curriculum is around critical dance processes, and they're surrounded by a campus of faculty and practitioners and artists who are, in fact, engaging in that practice all around them. So that part of the curriculum became kind of heightened while here at Bennington. The fourth part is the other thing you ask about, which is performance pedagogies. What is it we learn in and through performance and with engaging with an audience? Whether that audience is our classmates, our audience is our campus, our audience is our city, or our audience is the world. So these are the sort of 4 major areas of our curriculum, and it's something that we've held onto and that's taught us about resilience, because we could step back into practice, we could step back into critical engagement, and performance is always there to really push it for, why are we doing all of this, comes to life in those moments.
We'll have more on this story after the break.
This episode is brought to you by Temptations Cat Treats. Your cat will come running for the perfectly irresistible Temptations Creamy Puree and Temptations Lickable Spoon Cat Treats. The best time to feed lickable cat treats to your cat is anytime. Feed by hand for a playful moment, in a bowl for a creamy treat, or as a topper to make mealtime fun. Visit temptationstreats.com to learn more.
Jif peanut butter. It's that jiffing good, it doesn't really need advertising. So instead, enjoy the calming sounds of the ocean. Jif. Ooh, it's that jiffing good. Get your Jif at jif.com.
Laura, this sounds amazing. Is it possible that Bennington could save any other programs at UArts?
We would love to, if there's interest and a fit, and because it's just been so amazing. I also want to say one of the things that is core to this program is visiting artists, and these visiting artists who came to Bennington, for 9 days or so, whatever it was. And then there was this incredible performance back in Philadelphia in December that highlighted the choreography and the works of some of these visiting artists with these students. And that was a wonderful way that tied together the best of these incredible artists, the students who were working so hard. When I see these students at the Bennington campus, they're like, we have like rehearsals all weekend, and the energy was just amazing. And our BA students would, go in and partake and look at their performances, and some of them actually took some of the classes with them. But the performance, we brought it back to Philadelphia in December for a performance. And it was a wonderful way of tying it all together. And the electricity and the talent was amazing. I don't know, Donna Faye, maybe you want to talk a little bit about that.
They talk about the Philly sound. You hear that all the time. There's the Philly sound. And certainly UArts School of Music embodied the Philly sound. You could hear them 7 blocks away rehearsing. But there's something that I think is true, which is there's a kind of embodiment in this that we're talking about, which is kind of like the Philly dance. You would sit in the audience and feel that it was of that city and from that city. So it was a beautiful kind of reunion.
Laura, do you know if this has happened before where one college has saved a program at another?
I'm sure it has, but not exactly in this way. I think there have been colleges who, I think of Goddard College, which, closed in Vermont. They had what's called a teach-out agreement. And UArts had kind of teach-out agreements. In other words, with other institutions who would take their students. But to take on a program like this in such a short time, I don't really know of anything. There is one of the other UArts programs, Donna Faye, with Pig.
Yes, Pig Iron. At Rowan University has taken over the MFA in devised theater and also the PhD in creativity.
Yeah. So my favorite moments of the first weeks of the dance program at Bennington was when I had all of the transfer students over to the president's house for dinner, and everyone was talking and having a great time. And then all of a sudden, all the BFA students started dancing and started, climbing the trees. And there was this music, and there was just like this incredible energy that, and to kind of have that, be at Bennington, go back to Philadelphia, think about ways that students can kind of use the cities as a campus, but also Bennington as an oasis. That is, something that we're really thinking about. Like, this has given us some great ideas and kind of seeing in action how that can work. So that's part of what we're thinking about for the future.
Yeah, it's kind of like it was UArts. It's no longer. So the idea of saving it becomes a kind of, it redefines itself. Now it has to reimagine itself. So it's not like we're going to just recreate UArts back in Philadelphia. It has to be something that keeps moving so that it doesn't get, stuck again, and it needs to stay nimble, and that's where we're charged to figure out right now, is how can it keep moving, breathing, growing, considering itself right now in this moment. So that's the exciting part.
And I would just say one other thing, which is that the cultural scene in Philadelphia is just so phenomenal. And, the back and forth between UArts students, faculty, and Philadenko and the ballet and even talking with the opera, there's such opportunity to kind of reimagine how to create those partnerships in a way that can benefit everyone and create some new forms, some new approaches to dance and to dance in relationship with other arts. And it's very, very exciting.
And Donna Faye, did you move to Vermont?
Good question. I'm living here this year, but I kept my place in Center City.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Do you miss Philly?
Of course I miss Philly.
Well, Donna Faye and Laura, thank you so much for talking with me on CityCast Philly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trenae.
That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. Let us know what you think of this episode and share this with a friend. Rate the show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter, Hey Philly, to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news and politics because it's Wednesday. Bye.